I'm not running for office, Bill. I'm answering a question on a television show. If I wasn't answering
the reason why you're on a television show is because you're a known strategist. So when we're asking for your strategy, and your strategy seems to be to tell the voters you don't know what you're talking about, and I don't think that's a good way to get elected.
Bill Maher invited James Carville onto Real Time with Bill Maher, setting the stage for a tense and memorable exchange. During the conversation, Maher pushed back against Carville's remarks, clearly disagreeing with several of his points. Watching discussions like this can feel exhausting, especially when opinions clash so strongly, and it can even leave a sense of frustration behind. Now, let's take a look at the clip from Real Time with Bill Maher, where Maher challenges Carville directly as the conversation unfolds. While it's important to keep things respectful, the statements made in the discussion sparked sharp reactions and strong criticism from those who disagreed.
You famously said it's the economy, stupid, but voters seem to be responding to positive economic news. Voters don't seem to be responding to positive economic news in the polls. How do you explain this?
Well, you know, you got 60% of the Republicans that believe the Earth is 6,000 years old.
Oh, that's not a good answer.
I'm just you say the polls, right? You look with 5.6% growth. All right, by any record, now people don't feel it. And I think we should have made a change. You and I agree on that. And I don't know how much of it is that they can't see beyond the president. The cost of living has hurt people. But you just can't look at this economy and go out and say this is a bad economy. That's impossible.
But that's not really what you want to tell the voters.
Well, but I'm not running for office, Bill. I'm answering a question on a television show. If I wasn't answering
the reason why you're on a television show is because you're a known strategist. So when we're asking for your strategy, and your strategy seems to be to tell the voters you don't know what you're talking about, and I don't think that's a good way to get elected. And I'm not a strategist.
I would not say that, but you can't.
You just said it to me.
Okay. But he's not running for office. I know, but the sweatshirt.
Here's what I think it is.
At times, it can feel like a certain way of thinking has spread so widely that it shapes how people respond, even when it doesn't quite fit the moment. What makes it especially puzzling is that someone like James Carville is clearly very sharp, which makes these moments stand out even more. It's strange to watch a person with strong knowledge take a turn that seems completely unrelated to the topic being discussed. During the exchange, Bill Maher asked a straightforward question about the economy. Instead of addressing it directly, Carville shifted to a comment about Republicans and their beliefs. The response didn't seem connected to the question at all, leaving viewers wondering how it tied back to the original point. It felt more like a way of steering away from the issue rather than engaging with it head on. When that happens, it can come across as avoiding a difficult question, possibly to prevent saying something that might upset a particular audience. Public figures often face pressure to stay aligned with the groups that support them, and stepping outside those lines can be risky. That tension can shape how they respond, even in discussions where clarity would be more helpful. Both Carville and Maher seemed aware of what was happening in that moment. Maher appeared frustrated, as if he had seen this kind of deflection before and had grown tired of it. For viewers, that kind of exchange can be surprisingly engaging to watch, especially when one person pushes for a direct answer while the other tries to shift the conversation elsewhere.
Like, you can cite the statistics, and yes, inflation is going down, it's going in the right direction, but the things that things people buy every day in this country, bullets, eggs, gas.
Gas is down.
Not here.
I'm just telling you, the price of gas.
Yes,
we produce more, we pump more oil than we ever have in history. Anywhere. We pump more oil than Saudi Arabia. All right, just so you know that. But if you ask people, do you think that the Democrats and Biden is, oh yeah, of course he is, 100%. I can't, the fact that people believe something doesn't make it a fact. There's a big story in the Wall Street Journal today. The crime rate has dropped significantly. Try to argue with someone, but the crimes per 100,000, I think, was 738, and you're down to 362 or something like that. You got to sit here and act like I'm a factual klutz because somebody believes something that's not true. I don't buy that.
Okay. Well, then we'll move on.
Okay.
Mike.
There's a certain irony in all of this. Bill Maher, after all, is a comedian, and part of what he does is keep things light and entertaining. Yet here he is, someone known for progressive views, openly expressing frustration about how difficult it's become to have real conversations. He doesn't want to completely ruin the tone of his show, but at the same time, he's pointing out what he sees as a growing divide where people can't even agree on basic facts. Think back to the period before the 2020 election. A number of well-known Democratic figures, like Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and Nancy Pelosi, were careful about how they spoke, even making statements about avoiding certain kinds of rhetoric. The concern seemed to be that the political climate was already tense, and pushing things further could make it even more toxic. But once the election was over and Joe Biden took office, the expectations shifted. Suddenly, if someone didn't go along with the prevailing narrative or respond in a certain way, they were judged harshly. The conversation around vaccines followed a similarly complicated path. Early on, there was strong confidence in what they could do, with messaging that suggested they would significantly limit the spread. Over time, as more data came in and new variants appeared, that message evolved. The focus shifted toward reducing the severity of illness rather than completely stopping transmission. For many people, these changing explanations felt confusing and, at times, frustrating. On top of that, policies around vaccination created intense debates. Requirements for travel, employment, and public participation led some to feel pressured into making decisions they weren't entirely comfortable with. Others saw these measures as necessary for public health. The result was a deep divide, with each side feeling strongly about its position. Now, when people say they can't engage with others because they don't believe in facts, it raises an important question. What do we even mean by that anymore? With so many shifting messages and interpretations, it's no surprise that people are left wondering how things became so polarized, and how the conversation ended up this way.
Mike Johnson, he's from your home state of Louisiana, the Speaker of the House. I read today he wrote a foreword in a book that subscribes to conspiracy theories and homophobic insults. I thought, Mike Johnson wrote the foreword to the Bible? Do you think Mike Johnson can hold his party together now that he has taken the mantle?
Well, first of all, I don't think he can hold his party together. Second of all, you're exactly right. Mike Johnson and what he believes is one of the greatest threats we have today to the United States.
Yeah.
I promise you, I know these people.
Well, you're talking about Christian nationalism.
Absolutely.
Talking about
this is a bigger threat than Al-Qaeda to this country. And let me tell you something. They have Speaker of the House. They got probably at least 2 Supreme Court justices, maybe more. Right? Don't kid yourself. And people in the press have no idea who this guy is, how he was formed, what the threat is, and this is a fundamental threat to the United States. It is a fundamental. They don't believe in the Constitution. They'll tell you that. Mike Johnson himself says, "What is democracy but 2 wolves and a lamb having lunch?" That's what they really, really, really believe. And to say, "Oh, come on, man, that's just some crazy shit." No. They believe that, and they're coming, and they've been doing it forever. They're funded. They're relentless. And, they probably won't win for a while, but they might.
It seems there was some confusion in that discussion, especially around who exactly was being criticized, whether it was Republicans more broadly or a smaller group like Christian nationalists. That kind of mix-up can easily lead to exaggerated claims, and at one point, the argument goes so far as to suggest that Christian nationalists are a bigger threat than groups like Al-Qaeda. That's a bold statement, and for many people, it feels like an overreach that's hard to take seriously. The conversation then shifts into a broader comparison of religious groups and how strongly they respond to criticism. Some argue that Christians, in general, tend to avoid confrontation and lean toward peaceful responses, while others point out that strong reactions can be found in many communities, depending on the situation and the individuals involved. It's a complicated topic, and sweeping generalizations often miss that complexity. From there, the argument becomes more about values and leadership. One side suggests that a society guided by firm beliefs and clear principles might feel more stable, while also criticizing current leadership for lacking consistency. Others would strongly disagree, pointing out that no single group has a monopoly on values or morality, and that diverse perspectives are part of what shapes a balanced society. Ultimately, the debate between Bill Maher and James Carville reflects a much larger divide in how people interpret politics, religion, and truth itself. Moments like these spark strong reactions on all sides, which is why they continue to draw attention and discussion. What do you think about the exchange between Bill Maher and James Carville on Real Time with Bill Maher?